Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, July 2nd. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Denise Douglas. So glad you could join us this evening. Well, topping our news tonight, our region is in the grip of a heat wave. The National Weather Service says high temperatures and high humidity will make for potentially dangerous weather conditions. Byron Scott has our story.
Trying to stay cool.
All of us, it seems, are doing our best to stay cool. If you've been outside today, then you know it's hotter than July.
Well, it feels like it's at least 95, I would say.
It's about, I'd say 110 when you really feel like it.
Indeed, with our area experiencing a sweltering heat wave, all of us are looking for ways to beat the heat.
You need to stay hydrated. Stay indoors as much as possible. Bring your animals in.
We've seen a lot of calls.
Mark Brady is with the Prince George's County Fire Department. His team contends with excessive heat all the time.
Well, the most important thing, if you can, stay inside in an air-conditioned environment and still consume a lot of water. We ask people to drink as much water as they can throughout the course of the day. But if you absolutely have to be outside, say if you're working outside, you're going to need to take frequent breaks. And if you can take your breaks inside an air-conditioned environment, that's better.
Nearly all of the people we encountered at the Shoppers in Largo offered the right tips for staying cool.
Drink plenty of cold water.
Again, nearly all of them. What are you doing to keep cool?
Cold beer and cold water.
The water part of that answer, good, says Mark Brady. The beer part,
With all this heat, and the longer we go through this heat wave, it taxes your body.
Well, that's true. But as long as you're sitting in the shade drinking it, it doesn't get that way.
Again, not the best idea.
Anything else you care to say?
Just stay cool. Do your best.
Byron Scott, CTV News.
And with the scorching summer temperatures and the heat index soaring to the hundreds, AAA Mid-Atlantic is urging everyone to look before you lock. The Auto Club is reminding drivers about the inherent risks of leaving children in hot cars. Young ones can suffer a heat stroke, which can lead to a high fever, dehydration, and even death. Therefore, always check the back seat, place a purse or other reminder in that area, or take the child out first before removing any items.
Well, taking a look at some of the other stories that we've been working on throughout the day, the Capital Gazette continues to publish its daily newspaper despite the shooting that rocked its offices last week. The tragedy left 5 people dead and several others injured. And it has also raised the issue of safety for journalists who often work in dangerous situations. Just today, a newsroom in New Mexico was evacuated after a man entered the studio and sat on a couch with a backpack. Luckily, he made no threats and no one was injured. The executive director of the National Press Club says there are a number of steps that news organizations can take to try to keep their workers safe.
And we're reminded that news is a dangerous profession, and it is irrespective of whether you're in a battle zone or you're at a community newspaper. And you're reaching people when they're at a pressure point, and it can become contentious or dangerous, as we saw in Annapolis. And I think newsrooms everywhere are going to be taking a look at their security, try to see what they can do to update and help protect their employees.
What can be done, though, because it's a sort of a balance between reaching the community and protecting ourselves as journalists?
That's a really good point. Access to the newsroom or to the journalist is an important part of the bond between the community and the journalist. So you want to be able to provide protection without deteriorating that bond. There are some things that can be done, however. So often when there is a problem, it is somebody who's unbalanced or has access to weapons that they shouldn't have. So what you want to do is create as much as you can a deterrence or the appearance of a deterrence. So actual security guards are good, but also gates such as we've had to install here and things that make it not an attractive place for someone who wants to cause harm.
A number of journalism advocacy groups have also issued statements urging political leaders and others to end the anti-media rhetoric.
For those interested in attending memorial services for 2 of the Capital Gazette editors, those are being held this week. Tonight, the memorial for Rob Hyacin will be held at Irving Nature Center in Owings Mills from 6 to 9 p.m. Guests are encouraged to dress summer casual per invitation. On Saturday, July 7th, memorial for Wendy Winters will be held at Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis. The Winters family is encouraging guests to make donations to the Girl Scouts of America, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, and the American Red Cross in lieu of flowers.
For the past 20 years, a memorial has been set up at the museum to honor journalists who've died doing their jobs. Take a look. You'll see it right here. Hundreds of photographs of reporters, videographers, and translators who put themselves in harm's way. Freedom Forum Institute President Gene Policinski says last year, unfortunately, the names of 18 journalists were added to the wall.
We do at the museum because we have news in our name and our DNA. We think people expect us to be a little bit like a news organization, so we put these kind of pop-up stands when there is a major news event involving journalism, and unfortunately the breaking news last week was the loss of these 5 folks over at Annapolis. One of the things that journalists don't want to be is the story. You know, we're not there to be the story, despite all the, I think, political kerfuffle about it now, which is actually, to me, almost meaningless. Journalists are very often behind the story, so the difficulty of getting a story, the risk of getting a story, should not be the story. It should be the thing you went out to get.
For more information on the Journalist Memorial, visit newseum.org.
Well, in other news tonight, local Latino leaders say they will not give up until the state reunites undocumented migrant children with their parents. Members of the Maryland Legislative Latino Caucus say they're grateful for Governor Larry Hogan's quick response to their letter, which expressed concern over the issue. But delegates Joseline Pena-Melnick and Marise Morales want Maryland to follow New York's example.
Everybody that understands immigration law knows that it's an administrative process. And so to be holding human beings for these long periods of time without their parents, without their families, it's just unconstitutional. And so that's not what Maryland's about. That's not what America's about. And we want to know, if Maryland is participating in this, we need to make sure that we bring an end to it.
We are replying today, asking him and sending him the link for Governor Cuomo's law that he signed and his plan, which is very prescriptive, so that he can follow the same. We can help with lawyers, we can help, by providing resources to the children, and I like that to be done quickly, and we will not give up. Even if it's one child, that's one life that is worth going the extra mile for.
Maryland is one of 17 states where the Trump administration is currently detaining immigrant children. That number includes more than 2,000 taken from their parents after they crossed the U.S. border illegally.